Welcome to the first webinar in the Back to Basics series on awards and national employment standards. My name is Michelle and I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, Kylie James. Kylie is a human resources and industrial relations specialist and advisor to NatRoad members. Actually, I might do that again, Kylie.
No problems.
All right. Welcome to the first webinar in the Back to Basics series on awards and national employment standards. My name is Michelle and I'm pleased to introduce our speaker, Kylie James. Kylie is a human resources and industrial relations specialist and advisor to NatRoad members. So I'll hand over to Kylie to talk about finding the right award for your employees.
Thank you, Michelle, for having me today, and welcome to our audience. Today's session, or actually the whole series, is about helping you understand the basics around HR and industrial relations for your business so we can help you to make sure that you're paying your staff correctly. Before we start, I just want to acknowledge that the information that I am sharing in today's the entire series comes from a couple of different sources. One is from our members resources. So we have a range of fact sheets on our member resources section. Also the Fair Work Ombudsman site. There is a huge range of information that the Fair Work Ombudsman shares about various different aspects of the industrial relations system. And finally, all of the questions that members actually ask us each and every day. We learn a lot from the questions that you ask us every day. So what we're trying to do is incorporate all of these different aspects to be able to provide you with some information so that next time you do have a question, you can find this out. But then if you do need more information, you are still welcome to give us a call. So as Michelle said, our first session is about finding the right award. And this is a really common question that we get asked just about every day. What's the award that covers my staff and how much do I need to pay them? So what we're going to cover today are a few different things. Firstly, what is an award? Who do awards cover? Then we'll step into finding the right award for your business. We'll work out how you can classify your employees and what grade or level that they may be in that particular award. And finally, we'll show you how you can work out what the base rate of pay is for your employees. So what is an award? They're various different terms. So an award is also known as a modern award. And essentially they are legal documents and they contain the minimum terms and conditions that you need to pay an employee. So this is on top of the National Employment Standards, and the National Employment Standards are embedded in the Fair Work Act of 2009. So modern awards came into effect on the 1st of January in 2010. So one thing I do wanted to remind you of, the awards have existed for a very long time. So you might have old copies of awards. If you do, I really encourage you to have a look and make sure that you've got the current award, because they do change and they have changed quite a bit. So on the 1st of January, the modern awards came into effect. So what you're looking for is an award that is now making sure that it's the current award. So the current awards all actually, their titles end in 2020. So just make sure that you've got the right award. Otherwise, you could be looking at terms and conditions that are out of date. So examples of entitlements that are in awards are pay rates, the ordinary hours of work, rosters, breaks, allowances, penalty rates, and overtime. There may be some other things that are an award, but that can also vary from award to award. So who do awards cover? Well, essentially they cover all employees covered by the National Workplace Relations System. Now, this could be industry-based or it could be occupational-based. So it depends on the work that the person is doing as to what award they might be covered by. So as an example, this could be the road transport award. So for truck drivers and those sorts of things. So you'd be looking for an award that is related to road transport or driving or something like that. In addition to awards, a business might have a registered agreement or an enterprise agreement. Now, these are generally negotiated between the employee and a group of employees, the employer and a group of employees. The agreements might offer more than what the award is. They cannot offer less than what the award is. So if the agreement offers less than what the award is, the award will actually apply in this particular case. In some situations, employers and employees will not be covered by an award or an agreement. And if that's the case, they're known as award and agreement free. And this is where the national minimum wage and the national employment standards cover that person. And that is all contained in the Fair Work Act of 2009. One common question that we get is, can an employee be covered by more than one award? And the answer is yes, they can. So they could be doing multiple different jobs and they can be covered by 2 different awards. So if you do, that can get a little bit tricky sometimes. So if you do have some questions around that, please give us a call and we can help you navigate those 2 awards and how it works and what you should be paying your employee. So step 1 is really about finding the right award for your business. So it's really important that you actually find which award covers your business, because then you know that you're going to be paying them the right amount, whether it be the base wage or any allowances that might cover. So the first step is to identify what the industry is and the type of work that is being done. So I've just put 2 scenarios up for you. The first one is Fred started his business and he needs to employ 4 drivers that will transport goods from Sydney to Melbourne, and then Sydney to Adelaide, and then Adelaide to Melbourne. He also has employed an office manager who does administrative tasks. So in this situation, you've got drivers, but you've also got some admin staff as well. In scenario 2, Sue and Bob have been running their business for 25 years and they're based in Rockhampton. They have 6 drivers who usually deliver goods locally. However, a few times a month, they may travel to Toowoomba and back. So in this case, we're talking purely about the drivers who are driving long distances, but also they're local drivers predominantly. So as I mentioned, the first step is to actually determine which award they're covered by. And this is generally where we'll go to the coverage clause of an award. And in most awards, it is usually in clause 4 of the award. So I've just put up some examples here of the road transport long distance award. So this is the coverage clause in this award. And you can see that it explains who is covered and who is not covered by the award. So one of the key things in this award is really around the distance traveled. So a key element here is 4.2b, where the distance travels has to exceed 500 kilometers on a return journey. So when drivers are driving long distance, this is the award that will generally cover them. There are more detail in this award, and I'll leave that for you to read at a later date. But that's one of the key things that I would look for when I'm having a look at this particular award and the work that's being done underneath it. This next award is the Road Transport and Distribution Award. It is a little bit different. Well, to be honest, it's quite different to the Long Distance Award. And it's really about your local drivers, and also trips that are being done less than that 500 kilometer round trip. So if you've got drivers that are doing shorter trips or they're a local driver, this is generally the award that would cover your employees. There are also a few different things, a few different classifications in the award that we'll get to in a few future slides that might cover a few different classifications in this award. So people who might be working in warehouses, that some of them might be covered by this particular award. So when we look at those two scenarios that I put up earlier, if we have a look at the scenario 1 with Fred starting his business and he needs to employ 4 drivers and he also has an office manager. So if we look at the tasks that the employee is doing, what I can see is that there are 2 potential awards that are going to be relevant here. The first one is the Road Transport Long Distance Award, and the second one is the Clerical Award, which we haven't gone into at this point in time. So the road transport will cover the drivers, the long distance driving, and then the clerical will cover the office manager doing the administrative tasks. With the second scenario, with Sue and Bob, they've been running their business. They're based in Rockhampton. What this scenario indicates is that majority of the time, their staff are local drivers. However, from time to time, they do long distance driving. So in this case, they're actually covered by the Transport and Distribution Award, but when they're doing the long distance driving, their drivers will be covered by the Long Distance Award. So this is where an employee can be covered by 2 different awards, essentially at the same time. Now, those 2 awards do actually kind of speak to each other in this type of scenario. So if you've got a local driver who is jumping over to the long distance driving and is going to be covered by that award, then there's an allowance that an employee is entitled to under that award. So once you've determined which award your employees are covered by, the next step is to actually classify your employees. So this is about what type of work they're actually going to be doing. So this is determining what classification level or grade that aligns best. So if you can classify the employee correctly, that means you're going to pay the employee correctly. The classification description is in an award includes information about the types of duties an employee may be expected to perform, whether the employee supervises other employees, and the level of experience or qualifications an employee needs to work at that level. So an employee's classification may change over time. They may start at one classification, but they may change as their tenure goes along and they've stayed in the business longer. So an example, they may take on supervisory duties, or in the case of road transport, the trucks might change and therefore the classification may change. If you don't consider that the classification matches the work that the employee is doing, then they may be covered by a different award. So that's where it's really important to look at the coverage clause in the first instance, and then we'll look at the classification section. The other little tip that I've got for you is sometimes the language throughout the awards, they might use acronyms or particular terms. So you should have a look at the definition section as well, because that can actually tell you and explain to you a little bit more about what the award is talking about in relation to specific classifications or job roles or just a particular term that's being used. So as an example, in the Road Transport Long Distance Award, Clause 12 outlines the classifications in this award. So you can see that there are essentially 10 classifications in this award. And it's, you know, we have lots of questions that someone might ring up and say, hi, can you please tell us what a B-double driver is paid? We need a little bit more information than that, as you can see from the award, because a lot of the classifications are based on the type of truck that the actual employee is driving. So as an example, if B doubles can be covered by classification 7, but they also might be classified under classification 8. And that depends on how large the truck is and what, weight it is carrying. So it's really important to have a look at this table and then have a look, what the truck is and where it fits best in this particular area. Something that you might want to cross-check is your registration papers and also the National Heavy Vehicle Common Heavy Freight Vehicle configurations, because sometimes the language that's used in the award and also in the registration papers or other information that you've got about the truck, it may be slightly different. So if you can cross-check those, then you can hopefully work out exactly which classification the employee may fit under. So in road transport, there's two terms that are being used. And this is where, when I first started looking at this award, I wasn't quite sure what some of the terms meant. So this is where going to the definitions section and actually looking at, okay, what do these terms mean? And then how does that relate to my truck, for example? So in the long distance award, they refer to GCM or gross combination mass, or GVM and gross vehicle mass. So the award actually gives definitions of those. So if you're unsure what GCM or GVM means, please have a look at the definitions, and then that will give you a little bit more guidance around how that fits in. And then you can have a look back at the classification table and work out which one may be relevant to your employee. The next two awards are related to the Clerks Award and the Road Transport and Distribution Award. Now, I haven't included every single part of the clauses because both awards actually have quite lengthy classification clauses. In clause 12 of the Clerks Award, they refer you to the Schedule A, and that has a long list of the different types of classifications and what an employee might be doing. So what you would then do is look at the classification A, have a look at the different tasks, and match that up to the work that the employee is doing. In the Road Transport and Distribution Award, it's the same type of situation again. It's clause 12, and they refer you to Schedule A. So in the Clerks Award, I've just given you a snippet here of Schedule A. And this is where you can see there's different levels essentially in the Clerks Award. So it will give you a description of the characteristics of the level and also the typical duties and skills. So there's a range of different levels. So what you would do is have a look at every single level and then match that employee to that particular level. And then that's how you determine what the best classification is. With the Road Transport and Distribution Award, again, it's the same kind of principle. There are different levels for every single employee, and they outline the skills and duties. So you'd read the Schedule A and actually work out what the skills and duties are and match them to what the employee is doing. Under the Road Transport and Distribution Award, there's also a Schedule B because they have two different types of workers there. First of all, they have the distribution facility employees, which are classified under, one lot of classifications. And then they have the transport workers. And so this is where sometimes people can get confused around, is this the same as what the long distance award is and the classification? And what I'll say is that no, they are different. So this is where you need to look at each award and have a look at those classifications to determine what the employee is doing and which classification is the best. So as an example, the drivers that are classified as a transport worker grade 4 in the Road Transport and Distribution Award could be classified differently at a different level in the Road Transport Long Distance Award if and when they do long distance driving. So it's not an automatic same, if that makes sense. It's have a look at each award, and then determine the most appropriate classification for that particular employee. So the final step then is to work out the base rate of pay for your employee. So you know what the award that the employee is covered by. You then know how you've classified them. You can then use that information to have a look at the pay rates that are in the award to determine the best rate of pay for that particular employee. And that will also be different depending on whether they're full-time, part-time, or casual as well. So an example in the Road Transport and Distribution Award, Part 4 or Clause 17 actually outlines the minimum rates of pay that an employee is paid. So I've given you an example here of transport workers. So you can see in this table that a transport worker is graded from 1 to 10. When you've determined what the classification of that employee is, you can then come to this table and have a look at what their minimum weekly wage is and also what their minimum hourly rate is. Now, this is their base rate of pay. This does not include allowances that they may get on top of. So, for example, traveling allowances or meal allowances. So this is the minimum that you must pay. You can pay more if you want to. That is a decision that you can make from a business perspective. The other thing is that if employees actually move between the classifications, just have a check because as you can see, the pay rates do change. So as the grades get higher, so a grade 7 is higher than a grade 6, obviously the pay rate for a grade 7 is higher than the pay rate for a grade 6. The same as in a clerk's award. Clause 16 of this particular award outlines the weekly rate and the hourly rate for full-time and part-time employees. So again, have a look at how you classified them, and then you can come to this table and have a look at the weekly wage rate and then the hourly wage rate. And finally, the Road Transport Long Distance Award. Clause 16 of this particular award outlines the minimum rates of pay for full-time employees. Now, this award is a little bit different because you can pay hourly and you can pay by the kilometre. So this is one table that you can look at in this particular award. However, there are some other tables that follow this that provide rates around how you pay someone by the hour and then how you pay someone if you're paying them by the kilometre rate. But essentially, this table here is a really good guide, particularly for full-time workers, if you need to go back and look at how you're going to pay their annual leave or long service leave as well. So this is a really key table for you to keep in mind when you're looking at how you're paying your employees. One thing with all the awards is generally the wage rates increase on the 1st of July every single year. So for example, this year, the wage rates increased on the 1st of July, 2023. So hopefully you're paying those new wages now. If not, please give us a call and we'll help you work out what you might need to do if you are still paying the older wage rates from pre-1st of July, 2023. So keep a lookout on the 1st of July in 2024 as the wage rates are likely to increase again next year. So in summary, there are 3 steps to take to ensure that you're paying your employees correctly, based on identifying the most appropriate award that applies to you, your business, and your employees. Firstly, review the coverage clause. So determine what award best fits your employees, and that might be industry or occupational based. Secondly, review the classification clause, and this is to determine which level, which grade most fits in with the work that the employee is doing. And then finally, review the minimum wage rates clause. because depending on how you classify them will depend on what the best rate of pay is for your employee. Now that's the end of our presentation today on finding the right awards. I'll now hand back to Michelle and she can finish off the rest of the presentation for us.
Thank you, Kylie. Please remember, if you are a NatRoad member, you can call for advice and support regarding award rates and national employment standards. Even if you are across the information and just want to double check what you're doing is correct, you're welcome to call. Our number is 1-800-272-144, or you can email membership@natroad.com.au. And thank you to Ample for sponsoring this webinar.